Welcome to Wine Country at Work. I'm Ralph Dimichis, and today we're at the offices of the Napa Valley Film Festival. We're going to talk with the co-founder and co-director, Mark Lormer, about what's gone into creating this very remarkable event. So let's start off with the transition, because you were involved with the Sonoma Film Festival, yes?
Right, yes.
Yes. And I first heard about you all because my son worked on the sets for Bottle Shock.
Bottle Shock, yeah, that's great.
Right.
Back in '07,
right.
It was an exciting time.
Yeah, and that was just a tremendous project. I mean, no one had really told the story of the Judgment of Paris like
and
that.
So few people knew the story,
Exactly.
Which is amazing. Obviously here in the wine country, people who were around knew it, but general public, no idea.
And what was really beautiful about it, and this was from the point of view of a tour guide, whenever we would talk about it, we would talk about Stag's Leap. That's the big red.
Right.
And then after all that, we would mention, oh yeah, and Chateau Montelena won for the white.
Right, the afterthought.
Right.
Right.
But until you told the story in the movie, you didn't realize how, like, they were off on the edge here. They were about to fall into the abyss.
Oh, it's so true.
When it rescued them.
Yeah, and just a whole new ball game.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
fun stuff.
So you have history in this place. You have history. You've got depth in the area.
Yeah, well, on a number of levels with what we're doing. You know, interestingly, you asked to set up with the transition. Brenda, my other half, and co-conspirator, and
Yeah.
I, we do everything together. We live over in Sonoma and moved here in '99, and we've had a long love affair with the wine country.
Mm.
We met in '87. Living down in Silicon Valley, and we'd take weekends as we were, romancing, and we'd come up to the wine country, which is such a romantic, getaway destination for the weekend. And we loved coming up, and we discovered that we loved food and we loved wine. And then, of course, we talked about movies. We love movies and travel and all this great stuff. And that shared passion that we have ultimately just projected itself out into these experiences that we've created. And interestingly, we met each other working together at an event production company down in Palo Alto with large Silicon Valley clients, and we were used to the notion of creating large-scale events. They just weren't film festivals. They might be a 6,000 person, corporate holiday party for Oracle or Apple or Hewlett Packard. That's the kind of stuff we were doing, but very creative, interesting work. At a time when Silicon Valley was a very creative and fun place, and of course we might be back there. But at any rate, we fell in love up here, and we ended up actually getting married in Napa Valley, which is just a whole other part of the story. And we got married in '91, and we have our 25th wedding anniversary is coming up this summer. So we have long been connected here before moving here, which we did in '99. We settled in Sonoma, and now sort of getting into this whole film festival world, which we'd had nothing to do with prior, filmmaking, film festivals. But we discovered, lo and behold, that sleepy little lovely Sonoma had a film festival, an annual festival, and we attended the 3rd and 4th years, and we realized that someone didn't know what they were doing because hardly anybody was attending. It was terrible. The filmmakers came to show their films, and no one would show up in the theaters. And I said, what's wrong? This is such a great place. Why isn't this thing so super successful, right, with everything it's got going for it? So anyway, that group kind of tossed in the towel after 4 years, and Brenda, my other half, had volunteered to just take it over after offering to help with the marketing. And they said, no, it's yours. You just take it. And I ended up helping her. This was right before 9/11. So her new board voted to toss in the towel 2 days after 9/11. And she hadn't even done her first festival yet, but she'd been working for 4 months on a rebranding strategy and a whole new marketing campaign. So I jumped in to help her. And what was neat is we ran that festival for 7 years. And every year we ramped it up, starting from nothing. Audience tripled and doubled, and 50% growth. The audience was growing, but more importantly was that we were meeting a whole fresh batch of people from the film industry every year who were coming up because they wanted to have their films in the festival or come talk on a panel or whatever. They were falling in love with the wine country. They were loving the experience we were creating, the hospitality we were extending, right? They were appreciating our audiences. And we were meeting them, and we were all of a sudden, we were sort of becoming like film people. And, oh, with a crazy couple that runs the Sonoma Valley Film Festival. And one of the people that we met and who was coming every year with a fresh film was actually someone who I'd gone to business school with and Brenda had gone to college with. So it wasn't really a new acquaintance, but we were reuniting ourselves in a new context with him bringing films to our festival every year. He is the person who Ross Schwartz, the writer of Bottle Shock, was bugging in LA to please make my movie. And he's like, and our friend Todd was like, I'm not touching this thing, but my crazy friends Mark and Brenda up in Sonoma, they'll make your movie for you. Oh. And we read the script. He sent us the script. He said, make this, you know, you've been doing this festival. You've been picking films. People are loving the films. You guys have talked about maybe trying to produce a movie. You should do this one. We read the script and we're like, oh my God, this is such a great story. And we didn't even know the story. We didn't know it, let alone all the people out there that don't know it. So we fell in love with it. We decided to do it. And of course, the first thing is we're not filmmakers. So we said, well, we need to find a director. Where are we going to find a director? We're like, oh yeah, we run a film festival. We meet 100 new directors every year. So we hired a guy who had shown a beautiful film at our previous festival, and Randy Miller, and he made a beautiful movie. So that was really a lot of fun. And the experience of creating that film, of taking it to Sundance for its world premiere, taking it around the world, led directly to us creating the Napa Valley Film Festival. Because we had people in Napa who'd been watching the success of the Sonoma Festival and wondering, why isn't there a Napa Valley Film Festival? Well, then they're saying, well, wait a second, not only don't we have a film festival, but you guys running the Sonoma Festival just made a movie about the Napa Valley wines beating the French, and you premiered it at Sundance. This is wrong. Right. That should have had its world premiere at a Napa Valley Film Festival, and you guys better fix this problem. Wow. So we did.
That's very
Isn't that fun?
That's
so yeah,
perfect.
How these things all weave together, and here we are now, you know, going into year 6, and we're still going at it.
You didn't realize that you were interviewing people for your directorship, you know,
That's
all
right.
that entire time. And also now I understand why you were able to run the festival the way you do, because it's an organizational potentially nightmare, and you guys do it very smoothly. It's the background in events.
Yeah, it is true. That's right. 'Cause people always ask, are you guys film people? You know, do you study film in school? And you just said, no, we're not film people, but we are event people. Right. You know, we are event people, production people. We can deal with the logistical complexity. And then I think on the aesthetic side, and I think one of the reasons why this is being so well received, and the Sonoma Festival we did was so well received, is that on so many levels we are representative of the audience. Right. You know, we're not edgy, you know, trained film academic people, you know, who might then pick a certain kind of film that might just not be as appealing to the audience who likes to come to the wine country and, you know, sip on their wine while they're watching the movie. We're picking films that appeal to us. Right. And we're people that like film, food, and wine, and so we attract other people who like film, food, and wine. They're likely to like the movies. And you know what? That is indeed what we're seeing happening. And I think that's been really beneficial. You know, so it's being able to handle the back end business side that people don't necessarily see. But you know, you look through the book and you look, oh my God, this thing is massive. You know, they appreciate it, right? But we don't. Hopefully, with the rest of our team, we hopefully make it look like it's all walk in the park.
Seamless, yeah.
Yep, right. And then you just have this aesthetically super, you know, super enjoyable, you know, super exciting, sort of sense awakening set of experiences that happen over the course of a week.
I'll tell you, one thing that has impressed me is how well you inspire and organize your volunteers. That takes a certain type of genius onto itself, because you have so many people who are involved with this, and we have, you know, the top hospitality people in the world in terms of the wine tourism field, and a lot of people that we know show up and say, what can we do to help you?
Right, and they do. It's amazing. Well, we have a terrific volunteer director, Debbie Young. She does a great job. She said she's got over 1,000 people in the database that we use to organize people who express interest and, you know, tell us all about themselves. We have all this information. It's funny, we were having a drink with her just last night after work, and she said her goal this year, even though we only need 600 volunteers to help run the festival, we already have 1,000 database. She said she actually has a goal to double that number. She wants 2,000 people in the database, and she said because she wants to constantly be upping the quality level, you know, and keeping track of who's really great and, you know, who's just sort of in it for getting to watch movies for free, you know, versus, but we have such a great group of people that are so passionate about being involved with this festival and imparting their love of Napa Valley, like you said, the folks from the tour groups and all the tour operating companies, sharing that with the people that come in from outside the area. People love it. We have so many people who have actually been volunteering with us from the very first year, you know, and they do it year after year after year. And in fact, if there's even the suggestion like I think, what was it, 2 years ago, we had a venue that then we weren't going to be able to use this last year. And we had to go to the team, like the 40 people, it was a big venue, 40 people that volunteered over the course of 5 days on the team, and tell them we didn't have the venue. They were heartbroken.
Oh,
Sure. Because for 4 years in a row, they ran their venue. They feel such pride of ownership. And it gets better every year because, you know, everything smooths out. But it is a requirement, not just for our festival, for any of these festivals, that you magnify and extend yourself first with seasonal staff. You know, our 12-person year-round team becomes about 40 people by the fall, you know, and then 600 more volunteers. You need to do that to be able to put on something of this magnitude.
It's very funny. I have to tell you a story. When I was out doing my B-roll, I walk into the venue down at the Napa River Inn.
Right.
And I walk in, and everyone's upstairs watching it, and the team is right there at the front. I know everyone in the team. They didn't realize I knew them individually. I knew them from completely different venues.
Right.
But it's creating that kind of cohesive community. I think there's something like in Napa, 10,000 people in hospitality. We get 3.5 million visitors a year.
Right.
That's 360 of them for every one of us.
Yeah.
But so many of the people who work within hospitality take their time during the festival to, you know, participate.
Right.
And they love doing it.
Yeah, they do. And as we said, they come back year after year after year. It's really, really a neat feeling. There's a very strong feeling of community here. And that was very important to us. We took, I don't know if you know this, but we made the decision that we would dedicate ourselves to creating this thing in June of 2009. It's almost 7 years ago. And very tough economic time, the depth of the recession. But we had a sense that, you know, we were going to kind of be coming out and we might be able to build this thing into an upswing. And a lot of great development going on, particularly down here in Napa and along the riverfront. You know, all that good stuff was happening. But we took 18 months. We really took our time to very carefully engage at sort of street level folks up and down this valley, all 4 towns. You know, go to the chamber, you know, leadership and the members, the hoteliers, the wine tasting room people, the restaurateurs, and make sure that everybody was on board with this. You know, because one might wonder, you say Napa Valley Film Festival, it sounds like something that's probably been around for a long time. You know, like Cannes, or Sundance. You know, these are 30, 40, 60 years old. Why hasn't there been a Napa Valley Film Festival? Maybe there's a reason, you know. Maybe this area with the competing towns, you know, and up valley, down valley, you know, maybe it's just too crazy to pull off something like this. And we were a little concerned about that, you know. So we really took our time to make sure we could get everybody on board and then come out strong, come out very inclusive. And I think that has been very reflective of what you're noticing, you know, is that a very strong participation. This isn't some event that's come in from, you know, halfway across the country or LA or New York and plunk down here, and then a whole bunch of people come in from out of town and, you know, locals go running for the hills. You know, it's not that kind of event. It's the kind of event, actually, that locals are proud to say it's here, but also they participate.
They do.
Either volunteering or buying passes at any one of the price points, very inexpensive all the way up to very expensive. And
many of our neighbors.
Vast majority of our audience are actually local people, you know. And then of course the out of area audience, which starts small because, you know, people have to hear about it, but that's growing, of course, and that's where, you know, the future growth will probably be as the word continues to get out and out and out. we'll probably see a lot more people coming in from out of the area. But that core participation are locals who just love it.
What's also fantastic for the Valley, and this is an area that loves marketing, is that with every film that arrives, it comes with a group of people.
Yes.
Who maybe have never been to Napa before.
So many people in the film biz tell us that. Even, it's fascinating to me, even very high-level executives, the studios, the creative agencies, they all know about Napa. They all drink the expensive wines. Right? They've never been here before. Right. They all say that. Oh, yeah, I've always been meaning to get up there, but they're so busy they don't come. Well, now these people, they've come and they fall in love with the place. And boy, yes, the word is spreading. Probably more. I love that you brought this up. We probably have a larger group cumulatively of people who've come that are from the film industry, and the word and how they spread the word out. It probably is actually a larger magnitude than just the consumer attendees. Where a couple might come from Chicago and go back and tell their neighbors, "Hey, I just had a great experience, and you guys should come next year." And there's little ripples of that, right? And all the different metros where people come from. But the film industry buzz is amazing on this thing.
And of course, social media plays into this because they all start posting to their friends that I'm in Napa.
Yeah, they do.
I'm going out wine tasting.
And they're filmmakers, so they know how to take really good photos.
Very good photos. That's very true.
Right.
It really is a beautiful symbiotic relationship between the festival and the region, which Napa's only 160,000 people. Getting the word out is not as easy as people would think.
Right. Yeah. It's very true.
Now, what does your partner do in all this? What's her part of this?
Well, so Brenda and I are, we are equal partners in everything. So we're co-founders, co-directors. We have very nicely complementary skill sets. Most people wonder how the heck we possibly can have been working together all this time, and 25th wedding anniversary coming up, and we haven't killed each other yet. It's kind of crazy, but Brenda she focuses more intently on marketing and public relations, which was her career background before we got into all of this. She also is very good with the people management aspects, and just sort of day-to-day operational. Is it timelines, project management? Is everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing? And really paying attention to all those details. Super, super important. She deals with our outside public relations firm that's LA-based, and it deals with a number of the publicists who represent some of the bigger stars that end up coming. And she loves doing that stuff, and she's got a terrific personality, and everybody loves Brenda. So that's largely what Brenda's doing. And I'd say one other thing actually is very important is we have another side to what we do as an organization, which is our student education programs. And we leverage the fact that we're dealing with all these filmmakers who have all these incredible stories, and particularly the documentary filmmakers are frequently telling incredibly powerful and inspiring stories, some of them on some pretty tough subject matter. But we have leveraged those relationships to bring those films, those filmmakers, and the subjects of some of those films into the classrooms here in Napa Valley. And those have been very well-received programs. The school's asking us to do more and more of that. Over about 3,000 kids every year have some impact, some interaction with the programs that we do.
That's impressive.
And Brenda has been really driving that whole effort. So that sort of real community relations, student education initiative. She's doing that, and then she's very ably assisted by Blair Hunt, who's on our team, who's really just started as our assistant, and she's just gravitated to this education stuff. And she and Brenda are doing great work on that. In fact, if you're interested, I'll get you the link to the latest education video. We do a little video each year, a little recap, like a 5-minute piece of what happened just this past year. We've just finished this year's video. So you take a look at it.
I would love to see that.
The one from the previous year is on our website right now, which you could find. But you take a look at that. It's very interesting. So those are the things that she's primarily doing. And I'm doing this very bizarre mashup. My title officially is executive and artistic director. So I've got the business side, strategic planning, financial management, run the business. And then I've got the artistic director, and oversee the selection of the films, and the whole design of the event, and what are we going to do, and the scheduling out, the flow of the experiences that we're going to present for people over the course of what's become almost a full week at this point. And of course, we have wonderful people that we work with on our team, in all of these areas, to help us do these things. But that's it's a nice division. With how we see that, and we're able to sort of not be stepping on each other too terribly often.
That's a great gift. That's a great gift.
Yeah.
I think that your background in with events and such is one of the reasons why the hospitality that you show to the filmmakers is so good, because if you think about their experience, so much of their life they're spending kind of out of any kind of spotlight.
Right.
And these projects sometimes go on for 1 and 2 and 3 years.
Absolutely.
And then finally they're getting to show up someplace where it's going up on a screen, and suddenly they're in the spotlight, and that your ability to kind of handle them and coax them and cuddle them and cocoon them a little bit makes them feel like they really do belong here, and prepares them for that. Suddenly they have to be next to the screen explaining about their movie.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very different experience for them.
Yes, and coming from a very comfortable, well taken care of place, which is great. So another little connection on that is that what got us really involved way back when in the little Sonoma Festival that eventually had to go under, and we had to step in and keep it going, was somebody knocked on our door in Sonoma, one of the board members of that little festival, and asked if we would like to be a host family and have a visiting filmmaker stay with us during the upcoming Sonoma Valley Film Festival. And we said, well, yes, that sounds wonderful. We'd be delighted to have a filmmaker stay with us and kind of host them. What a cool idea. So we had this young guy come up and with his wife, and we just totally hit it off with them, and had them stay with us, I think, at least 3 nights, and just went around and did the various things. And that planted that seed that, it's just funny that's the little hook that got us paying more attention. We met the other board members, went to a little reception. It was just the board members and the host families. It was very few people. So we were in the inner circle, right? And that's how we ended up ultimately having Brenda volunteer to take over on this thing. And we felt like, oh, we can't let this thing die. That'd be terrible, right? It's so great. Well, now we've gotten to the point where we have, and it really just this last year we achieved this, we were able to find a place to stay for 100% of the visiting film industry people, and we had almost 400 people visiting.
Wow.
But between hotel rooms, B&Bs, winery guest houses, and then just people's homes, and an extra bedroom, we had this whole program set up with people feeling like, everywhere from the most luxurious place to stay, our competition filmmakers, you get to stay at Meadowood. It's amazing, this artists in residence program we do with Meadowood, which is phenomenal. They've been such a great partner from the beginning, down to I think we had over 60 host families who had people staying in their, spare bedrooms and the cottage above the garage and whatever. But, sharing again their love of the Napa Valley with these visiting artists.
And the very authentic experience of what it's like to live here and to be here. Because I always say,
it's amazing.
I always say that in the big cities, you want to be in a hotel that has a nice muscular front door to kind of protect you from the outer world. But here, you're around people who are very much like you.
Right.
You don't need that insulation so much. You want to feel like you're at home here. And I think you really create that feeling for them. It's nice.
Yeah, it really is. Everyone's got their guard down. I mean, they might arrive as someone who's used to, security around them and everything, kind of scary, a bigger name. They might arrive a little bit on edge, but boy, that just melts away very quickly.
It's amazing what wine will do.
Yes, exactly. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's amazing what wine will do.
Yeah, no, it's terrific.
And I do believe that it comes early in having parents aware that there needs to be education around all of it. We talk about having our economy strong, and that's something that we have to be very aware of, and it's something that we believe strongly even in our community.
This was back in the early 80s, I went out and had a bitchin' summer. And I came back from my bitchin' summer, and I had this computer class, and I said, no frickin' way. I am simply too cool for this. I'm not gonna do it. And I ditched class for 3 days, and then about on the 3rd or 4th day, I reluctantly went in, and the teacher, this was back in 1981, so I was super, super, super lucky that I had this class in my high school. And she had written a program on the board and said, who's gonna do it? And I was like, okay, maybe the curiosity is getting the better of me. And not everybody had a computer, of course. I went over and I typed it in, and I typed run. And that's what you did, how you ran the programs, and it counted on the screen. And from that moment, I went, oh, wow. And from that moment on, I knew I was gonna do computing. So I've had my whole career in computing. And I'm circling back to your question, which is that I had the opportunity, and I did receive, in fact, the messages that I was too cool for this, that I didn't belong there, but I got lucky anyway. And so I think it's incredibly crucial that we make it an absolute requirement. We saw it with the Harvey Mudd example in the film. When they require it, people do it. Women, men, they do it. And so I think that the media is sending lots of very, very bad messages.
What we were able to do was last year when we ran this program, or when the program was run at Avondale School District, we were actually able to poll the children, survey them, and survey the parents. And what we found was interesting is our perceptions about women in coding are all wrong. So they're 100% wrong. So when all the children, and this is why I believe this strongly, that all students should be taught coding. When you do it to all students, the girls tend to be better at it than the boys. Typically, they're smarter anyway. I'm a father of daughters, so I'll say that up front. They tend to do better, and they tend to like it just as much, if not more, than the students. And one of the questions we asked them was, do you like this class? Now, this is going to sound remarkable, but like 47% of the students, both boys and girls, like the class. When we ask that same question of math or science or history or spelling, the numbers go way, way down. I know it's shocking, but a lot of kids don't like school because it's a great equalizer. If you come out writing JavaScript from school, you can get a job.
Right, well, there are about 1 million jobs may go unfilled in computer programming by 2020, according to the
and 500,000 right this very moment. 500,000 jobs right this minute, according to Megan Smith last week in the US. And to get to your point also about the importance of media, CSI is a great example, right? When CSI aired and got popular, there was a 75% increase in women that started applying for jobs or started studying forensics.
So here's a question for y'all. And it seems to make a lot of sense that if you make it mandatory, I mean, nobody goes around saying, I can't believe you're into history, right? I mean, you have to take history, you have to take math. So let's say we get all these kids, and 10, 15 years from now, they know how to code because they had to learn it in school, which is great. What I'm curious about, and the film obviously raises this point, is when do women start or stop being harassed? And one thing I wanted to bring up was the Gamergate issue, which came up with South by Southwest. South by Southwest is a conference in Austin, Texas. They're